Why isn't anyone playing Yanis in Blue Sun? That's the question I've been asking myself for quite a while. It seems like the perfect ice to slot into Blue Sun. I mean, it does cost 3 influence, but that's just 3 influence. You don't have to include 3 copies of it. It's the most painful ice to face check in the entire game, and the best thing is that it has a res cost of 15. You want high res cost ice because, you can use Oversight AI to res them, and you can manually res them as well because you often find yourself with lots of credits to res big ice. So why not play Yanis? And the best thing is that in Blue Sun, you can bounce it around all your servers, and once you have 15 credits or more, and the runner knows you're playing Yanis, they cannot afford to face check any server because anything and everything might be a Yanis. Unfortunately, despite such a prospective deck, my mulligan hand is of no use. Thankfully, I managed to draw up a hedge fund in my first mandatory draw. That gives me some teeth to bite with, at least to make the runner a bit more scared of me because I could res a toll booth anytime. But otherwise, R&D is wide open because all there is a curtain wall. I have to let him in. I tried to play mind games on him by asking him whether he really wants to run last click. There's no harm in that because I'm not running any snares in this deck. No influence to pack snares. But this is still a tag and back deck. As you saw, I run 2 sea sources and there's a Scorched Earth in my hand. I have nothing better to do with my turn, so I scored a hostile takeover because I know that anytime he can breach my central server, my HQ, he is Ken Tenma. He can easily get his passport out. I know he's running passport. Or rather, I don't really know, but you can be pretty confident that he's running some sort of efficient code gate breaker. It could be a Yonk, it could be a passport, it could even be a golden blade. In any case, special order is there to get it very quickly. So I'm very worried about that. Thankfully, I managed to drain 1 credit from him with Datapike. Now, this is a bit of an anti-synergy. Because I scored hostile takeover and have a bad pub, Datapike only taxes the runner for 1 credit. So in this case, I would rather have had an Enigma instead. But it is very rare that I score a hostile takeover so early. It's because I'm this agenda flooded and I'm not drawing to any ice, so I don't have a choice. The Parasite you saw on HQ, he took that back because he wasn't thinking straight. Obviously, playing a Parasite naked or against Blue Sun is a stupid thing to do, and he rightfully took it back. Thankfully, I managed to draw into an Oversight AI, which I can use with my Curtain Wall already on R&D. So thank goodness that came. Just hope that he cannot break it this turn. I don't think he can unless he's running David. You can't rule that out. I haven't seen his influence suite yet. 17 influence, lots of space to spare. But a David in criminal is not something I would expect. So I don't think he can break through this ice. But I am starting to agendas are starting to pile in my HQ. I'm definitely considering bouncing the curtain wall onto HQ just to make sure that he cannot get in at all. The only thing I'm worried about at this point really is inside job into emergency shutdown. He cannot break my curtain wall, but he definitely can mess me up by using emergency shutdown. So HQ must remain protected at all times. Now, here's a very weird thing he did. He brought the Corroder out instead of his passport or whatever decoder he's running. That is a very odd choice. I would think that his main priority is to breach through HQ. Instead, he brings out the Corroder for my curtain wall. Does he really want to spend 11 credits to get through a curtain wall for 1 run? I don't think so. So that was very weird. Yes, I let him through R&D at this point because I see that I'm totally agenda flooded. I've only drawn 12 cards from my deck and 5 of them are agendas. 4 of them in my hand, 1 of them I fast advance. So I'm pretty confident about having no agenda density in R&D, so I'm happy to let him have single accesses. I draw into an Oversight AI, and that's exactly what I want to see. He is still on very low credit count, 5 credits, so I'm more than happy to Oversight the curtain wall, knowing that he most likely cannot break through. He needs 11 credits to break the entire curtain wall, so I don't think he can get 11 credits in 1 turn unless he's stocking out a lot of sure gambles. Even if he does, that will set him 11 credits back, which is fine by me. So he attempts to perform a Maker's Eye, and I obviously say no with my curtain wall. I'm rich enough to rest the curtain wall. So this is definitely a mistake by him here. I have no idea why he would choose to blindly make us high in, even though he has no breakers but a corroder. I guess he saw the curtain wall on the remote and thought that I used up my big ice on the R&D, but he doesn't have enough. He doesn't have the other breakers. He's playing very confidently. Alright, at this point I'm completely agenda flooded. I drew my 6th agenda, so I cannot hold all of them in hand with my Scorched Earth, so I'm forced to play the Atlas in the remote. And this is definitely suboptimal because I know he runs Inside Job. He is a criminal, he is Ken Tenma, he's running all the run events. It would be a big surprise if he doesn't have Inside Job, but the question is, will he use it on an unadvanced remote? It could be the route, it could be Jackson Howard. It would be a waste of his time if he Inside Job something that was an agenda. So we'll see. I'm hoping that he just 3 steps ahead into my archives 3 times. But that's not what he does. After 2 runs, he goes with the Inside Job, and of course, I lose the agenda. There was nothing I could do about this unless I wanted to trash my Scorched Earth into the archives. If I trash anything else in my archives, he would have stolen it. Alright, I draw into the big boss. Janus is out. And of course, the first order of business is protecting HQ for obvious reasons. I then draw into a toll booth, and that goes on the remote because R&D is safe and secure. There is no way he can breach through R&D. Even if he does, it's to his detriment. It's too expensive. The only thing I worry about, as I said, is emergency shutdown. And as long as I can protect HQ with that Janus, I am completely safe. Now, the best ice against Ken Tenma comes up. It's the guard. He needs to board his sentry breaker, otherwise he's not getting through this server. No inside jobs today. So even though I have very expensive to rest ice, a toll booth on a curtain wall on the remote, I feel absolutely safe because I'm only 4 credits away from stopping him from making the run. And of course, he doesn't contest it. So I get to score my Project Atlas over advance. This over advancement is very important because it turns on Seesaw Scorched Earth. I haven't been drawing my combo pieces, and Atlas gives me the chance to do so. So yes, the game has just become much harder for him. If he doesn't find his plus click quickly, he's going to be in a world of hurt. Remember, I still have a curtain wall over R&D. Bouncing it back to my hand, I have 33 credits, more than enough to burn him down. I just need to look for my second tag and back component, another Scorched Earth for Seesaws, and I can burn him down if he doesn't have a plus click. So here he's starting to get rich. Why? Because I left archives wide open. That was a silly thing for me to do. I dedicated all my eyes onto the remote. I should have put the toll booth on archives. That would have taxed him and would have completely stopped him from gaining too many sucker tokens and getting so many credits. He has security testing, and all those 3 steps ahead has done a lot of work. I bounced back the Datapike. Because I wanted to protect archives, I finally realized that it's time to protect archives, but it's a bit too late. He's pretty rich now. He can get through a curtain wall easily, and that is my fear. My only solace is that he doesn't have any breakers out at all, except for a Corroder, so I can still easily defend this remote server, which is triply stacked, 1 of each type of ice. Yep. He now attempts an account siphon. Big mistake. Hello, say hello to my baby Janus. It's not baby though. It has 8 strength and 4 big painful subroutines. I told him in the chat he should thank his lucky stars that he was doing this on his first click. So he has 3 more clicks left to click through the Janus. I would think that the correct move for him right now is to click through all the brain subroutines, take 1 brain damage, and then abort the run. Because he cannot go on with this run. If he goes through with the siphon, he is going to get tagged and he will die to Scorched Earth. So what he ends up doing is he spends 1 click to mitigate 1 brain damage. So he takes 3 brain damage and then proceeds to clear the tags. I know it's not appearing on the screen this way, but then he decided that he needed 1 more click later to get rid of both tags, and so that's what he did. But he still went through with the siphon. I didn't expect that from him, but I think this was the correct call from him. Because at this point, if he decides to click through the entire Janus without proceeding to siphon me, he is doing himself a big disservice. Because he has already committed to the run, he might as well go all the way with it. And the thing is, because I'm Blue Sun, he cannot siphon lock me like most other other corps, I can instantly gain all the money in the world by re-resing my curtain wall. Bouncing back the curtain wall of Janus. So following that, I can immediately double scorch him next turn. That is something he cannot afford to let me have. Against any other corp, bringing me down to 2 credits is completely fine because he can keep the tax for 1 turn and then clear the tax the next turn, knowing that I cannot double scorch him. But against me, that's not an option. So, all he achieved that turn was a big swing in credits. I'm down to 2 credits. He has 28 credits, but he is clear of tax, and that's quite important. And the worst thing is that this denied me my opportunity to score. I wanted to put 4 advancement counters on that agenda in the remote. I couldn't do it this turn unless I chose to bounce off curtain wall or Janus to my hand, and that's exactly what I do. I need the flexibility in credits. So I do score the corporate war, but at the expense of leaving R&D wide open. This could be fatal. I know he has the Maker's Eye in his heap, and that is definitely something he will look to do. I am definitely worried about it. I can only hope that I get lucky with his accesses. This deck does not run any 3-pointer agendas, so he definitely needs to find 3 agendas to win the game. And yep. The thing is, because he cleared the tax and because he landed the siphon successfully, unfortunately this means that this turns my seesaws off. He has 28 credits, I have 20 credits. I cannot really scorch him. Well, actually, I can, because I have a res Janus sitting on HQ. This is why Janus is so good. I can bounce it around my central servers, and he cannot run safely without being fearful of impaling into brain damage. On the other hand, bouncing back the Janus to my hand gives me 15 extra credits to work with for a C-Scorched. So he runs my R&D, sees nothing, and then proceeds to draw more cards. But because he has been inflicted with 3 brain damage courtesy of Janus, this means that he cannot draw up to 4 cards by the end of his turn. All I needed to do was to bring a C-Source out, and he's dead. Because the Janus gave the brain damage to him to put him within C single Scorch range, and then the Janus provided me the 15 burst credits to take him out with C-Source. So MVP, Janus 1.0. It is really that good, especially against unsuspecting runners. Most runners just unprepared to deal with an 8 strength sentry with 4 subroutines, and I don't blame them. Unless they have 5 clicks for their turn, they cannot click through the entire Janus while remaining unscathed. This is quite important. This means that Oversight AI on Janus is a perfectly legitimate way to do things. And even if you Oversight AI the Janus and show it to them, it still puts the fear factor in them, because once I bounce it back to my hand, and I install stuff on my centrals, they don't know which one the Janus is. You cannot afford to face check it against Blue Sun. Now, the very fact that Janus combos well with C-Scorch by bringing the runner's max hand size down is merely icing on the cake. In this game, I managed to play it without having to Oversight AI the Janus, and he didn't get any R&D accesses either, so the Janus was a complete, utter shock. And that surprise factor really caught him off guard, which goes back to how awesome Netrunner is as a game of hidden information. Besides its high res cost, one of the major drawbacks of Janus is that it's vulnerable to the likes of Femme Fatale and single-use breakers such as Fairy and Deus Ex. Well, all these downsides are negated. As I said, Janus is easy to res with Blue Sun, and all those temporary breakers, well, how often do you want to recur them when the Janus can bounce around and pop up anytime in your face? It's not just sitting there like a sitting duck. And of course, Femme is negated for obvious reasons. It's Blue Sun. With all these downsides gone, I can't see any reason for you not to include Janus in your deck besides the high influence cost. I mean, even just 1 copy is nasty enough. Surely you can make space for that, and it really is very potent in Blue Sun and contributes to your strategy if you're playing Tag and Rag at the same time. Do try it out. I encourage you to. You'll find that it's very fulfilling. Thanks for watching and happy net running. Goodbye.